Do you remember when the evening seemed to arrive a little more slowly? When the light through the kitchen window turned gold, and somewhere down the street a screen door creaked open, and a mother called a child in for supper? There was a kind of quiet in those days. Not silence, but quiet. The world had not yet learned to hurry the way it hurries now, and though we did not know it then, that slower world was doing something for us. It was keeping us well. Many of us look back at the 1,950 seconds and feel a tenderness we cannot quite explain. We tell ourselves it is only nostalgia, the warm fog the mind throws over the past. And some of it is, but not all of it. Because hidden inside those ordinary days, inside those plain routines we never thought twice about, there were habits that protected our bodies and our hearts in ways science is only now beginning to understand. I have lived a long time. I have watched the world change faster than any of us imagined it could, and I have noticed something that I want to share with you today, gently, the way an old friend might lean across the table and say, "Let me tell you what I've come to see." We did things in those years that made life healthier, not because we were wiser, not because we had better doctors. We did them simply because that was how life was arranged. And when life changed, those quiet protections slipped away so softly that almost no one noticed they were gone. Let me take you back, and let me show you what we lost, and what, even now, we can gently bring home again. Think for a moment about how we moved. In those days, the body was always in motion, not in the way we mean today with memberships and machines and counting every step on a little screen. No, the movement was woven into the day itself, so naturally that we never called it exercise. We never called it anything at all. You walked to the market because the market was where you walked to. You walked to church, to the neighbors, to the bus stop, to school. A family often had one automobile, sometimes none, and so your own two legs carried you through most of your living. You stood to wash the dishes. You bent to tend the garden. You climbed the stairs because there was nowhere else for the stairs to go. And here is the part very few people realize. The body was never designed for long stillness. It was made to move in small, constant ways throughout the day, to rise and bend and carry and reach. Scientists today even have a name for all that gentle, unplanned movement, and they have found that it quietly burns energy, steadies the blood sugar, and keeps the joints supple hour after hour, without our ever thinking about it. We did all of that without a single thought, and then, slowly, the world removed it from us. The remote control arrived, and we stopped crossing the room. The second car arrived, and we stopped walking the half mile. The escalator, the elevator, the drive-through window, each one a small kindness, each one quietly taking back a little of the movement that had kept us strong. I am not saying these comforts are wrong. I am only asking you to notice what they replaced. Because the surprising thing is this. The people of the 1,950 seconds were not athletes. They were not trying. They simply lived inside a world that kept their bodies moving. And that, it turns out, may be one of the healthiest things a person can do. But movement was only the beginning. Let me tell you about the table. Close your eyes for a moment and remember a kitchen from those years. The smell of something simmering on the stove. A pot that had been there for hours. Bread, perhaps, that someone had made with their own hands. The flour still dusting the counter. Vegetables from the garden out back. or from a stand down the road, picked when they were ready and not a day before. We ate real food. I do not mean that as a slogan. I mean it plainly. The food on our plates came from the ground, from the farm, from the work of human hands. It was cooked at home, from beginning to end. A meal was something you made, not something you opened. And this matters more than almost anything else I will tell you today. You see, in the years since, our food has quietly changed into something our grandparents would scarcely recognize. So much of what fills the shelves now is built in factories, softened, sweetened, colored, and packed with things whose names we cannot pronounce. The researchers call these ultra-processed foods, and they have found, study after study, that the more of them a person eats, the more the body tends to struggle, in weight and in heart, and in the slow, quiet wearing down of health over time. In the 1,950 seconds, that kind of food barely existed, not because we resisted it, we simply did not have it. Sugar was a treat, not a flood. A bottle of soda was for a Sunday, not for every afternoon. Snacks between meals were rare, almost unheard of, and a child who reached for food before supper would be sent right back outside. And there is something else. The portions were smaller, the plates were smaller. A serving of meat was the size of a palm, not the size of a hand and a half. A muffin was a modest thing, not the great soft mountain it has become. Over the long decades, our plates grew, and our bottles grew, and our notion of a normal amount grew right along with them, so gradually that we never felt it happen. We did not eat less because we were disciplined. We ate less because that was simply what a meal was. I have watched many people worry about their eating, fight with it, count and measure and despair. And I want to tell them something kind. The people of the 1,950 seconds did none of that. They simply ate real food in reasonable amounts, made at home, and the rest took care of itself. Now stay with me, because here's where the story deepens. It was not only what we ate, it was how we ate. We sat down together, the whole family, around one table at one time. The day stopped. The work was set aside. And for that one stretch of the evening, we were simply with one another. There were no screens glowing at the table, no little machines buzzing in our pockets, pulling our eyes away mid-sentence. We ate slowly because we were talking, and we talked slowly because there was nowhere else any of us needed to be. The meal might stretch on for an hour. The children told their small stories. The grown folks spoke of the week. And nobody was in a hurry to leave. And do you know what that slowness did for the body? More than we ever imagined. When you eat slowly in good company, the body has time to feel itself growing full. It sends its quiet signals. That is enough now. And because you are not rushing, you actually hear them. The rushed eater finishes the plate before his body can say a word. The slow eater stops in time every single night, without trying. But the deeper gift was something else entirely. It was the togetherness itself. Here is a truth that has taken science a very long time to prove, though our grandparents knew it in their bones. Human beings need one another, not as a luxury, but as a kind of medicine. There has been a great study, running now for more than 80 years, following the same lives from youth into old age. And its clearest finding, after all that watching, is almost startlingly simple. The people who stayed close to others, who kept warm connections through their lives, lived longer and stayed healthier than those who grew isolated. Connection, it turns out, protects the heart in more ways than one. In the 1,950 seconds, connection was not something you scheduled. It was simply there. It was the family at the table. It was the neighbor over the fence. It was the front porch in the evening where people sat and watched the street and called out to whoever passed by. Ah, the front porch. Let me linger there a moment because I miss it. In those years, homes faced outward. The porch was where you ended your day, sitting in the cool air, perhaps with a glass of something, while the children played in the last of the light and the neighbors strolled by. You knew the people on your street. You knew their names, their troubles, their children. If someone fell ill, the whole block knew by morning, and casseroles appeared at the door without being asked. That was a kind of safety the body could feel. To be known, to be watched over, to belong somewhere. Then slowly the houses turned around. We built our living rooms in the back, behind the house, behind the fence, where no one could see in, and we could see no one. The television became the gathering place instead of the porch. We pulled inward, each family into its own quiet box, and the street outside grew empty in the evenings. And here is the part that should give us pause. In our own time, the doctors speak of something they call an epidemic of loneliness. They have measured it, and they tell us that long isolation can wear on the body almost as heavily as the oldest, most well-known dangers to our health. The lonely heart, it seems, is not only a poet's phrase, it is a medical fact. We did not have that loneliness in the 1,950 seconds, not because we were better people, but because the world was built to keep us together. The porch, the table, the church hall, the corner store where the keeper knew your name. Connection was the very architecture of the day. Let me turn now to the night, because we slept differently then too. When the sun went down, the day truly began to end. The work was finished. There was a little radio perhaps, or quiet talk, or a book by the lamp. And then, before long, the house grew dark and still, and we went to bed at a reasonable hour in a dark room with nothing glowing to keep the mind awake. The body, you must understand, has an old and faithful clock inside, be it for thousands upon thousands of years. That clock was set by the sun. Light meant waking. Darkness meant rest, and the body learned to release its sleep gently as the evening dimmed. In the 1950s, we still lived close to that ancient rhythm. The evenings were dark, the bedrooms were dark, and so our sleep came more easily and held more deeply than it often does today. Now, think of our nights as they are. The bright screens carried right to the pillow. The blue glow that fools the old clock into thinking the sun is still high. The endless scroll that keeps the mind racing long past the hour. The body begged to rest. We have flooded our nights with light, and then we wonder why sleep has grown so thin and so restless. Very few people connect the two, but the body remembers what we have forgotten. It still wants the darkness. It still wants the quiet. It still wants the day to end when the light ends. The people of the 1950s gave it exactly that, not by wisdom, but by simply living in a darker, slower, quieter night. And there is one more thing I want to speak of because it is the hardest of all to explain to a younger person. We were comfortable with stillness. We knew how to be at peace with an empty hour. There was time in those days that was not filled. A child stared out the window on a rainy afternoon, and that was allowed. A grown man sat on the porch step doing nothing at all, and no one thought him lazy. A woman shelled peas on the back stoop and let her mind wander wherever it pleased. We called it nothing. We did not call it rest or recovery or peace, but that is exactly what it was. The mind, like the body, needs its quiet. It needs hours that are not crowded, moments that are not measured, time that asks nothing of it. In that emptiness, the nervous system settles. The breath slows. The constant low hum of worry has a chance to fall silent. We have lost that almost entirely. Every empty moment now is filled the instant it appears. A glance at the little screen, a flick of the thumb, a flood of news and noise and the troubles of strangers 1,000 miles away. We are never bored anymore, and we have come to believe that is a good thing. But the body is not so sure. The body misses the empty hour. It misses the unhurried afternoon. It misses the long, slow evening where nothing happened, and that was enough. Now, I must be honest with you because honesty is part of any wisdom worth having. The 1950s were not a golden age of perfect health. They were not. There were dangers we understand far better now, and habits that did real harm, and knowledge we simply did not have. The doctors of today know a great many things their fathers never dreamed of, and we are better for it. I would not trade back the medicine of our time for the medicine of theirs. So I am not asking you to wish the past back whole. That past is gone, and much of it should stay gone. What I am asking is gentler than that. I am asking you to look at the past the way you might look through an old photograph, not to live inside it, but to find what was good in it and carry that good thing forward into the life you have now. Because the truth is, almost everything that made those years healthier is still within our reach. It was never about the decade, it was about the habits. And habits can come home again. So let me give you what I have come to call the quiet gifts, the simple things you can take from those years and place gently into your days now. Not as rules, not as burdens, as small kindnesses to yourself. The first is to move the old way, not to punish your body, but to weave a little motion back into your hours. Walk to the place you would have driven if you can. Take the stairs when the stairs are gentle enough. Stand when you might have sat. Tend something, a garden, a few pots on the sill, anything that asks you to bend and reach and care. Let movement be a part of living again, not a thing apart from it. The second is to bring food back to the kitchen. You need not cook like your grandmother did from dawn to dusk, but choose the food that came from the ground over the food that came from the factory. Make a meal with your own hands when you can. Keep the portions modest, as we once did without thinking, and let a sweet thing be a treat again, a small joy, a Sunday pleasure, rather than an every-hour habit. The third is to sit down at the table. Turn off the glowing things, eat slowly, and if you can, eat with someone, a spouse, a friend, a neighbor, a child. And if you live alone, as so many of us come to, then reach outward. Call the old friend, knock on the near door, sit on the porch where the world can see you. Connection is medicine, and it is never too late to take it. The fourth is to honor the night. Let the evening grow dim. Set the bright screens aside before bed. Make your bedroom dark and quiet, the way our rooms once were, and let sleep find you in the darkness, the way it found us then. And the fifth, the one I treasure most, is to allow yourself an empty hour. Sit on the porch and do nothing. Watch the rain. Let your mind wander. Be bored. And discover that boredom is only peace wearing plain clothes. Give your nervous system the stillness it has been quietly begging for all these years. I have lived long enough to see a great deal taken from us so slowly that we never grieved it. The walk became a drive. The meal became a package. The porch became a screen. The dark night became a bright one. The empty hour became a full one. Each change came dressed as a kindness, and each one took a little something we did not know we needed. But I have also lived long enough to know that what is taken slowly can be returned slowly. You do not have to change your whole life in a single afternoon. You need only bring one quiet gift back home this week, then another the next, gently, the way the past itself came and went, without hurry, without alarm. Growing older is not a decline to be feared. It is a season to be lived with dignity, with care, and with a little of the old wisdom we carried all along and only thought we had forgotten. The world changed quickly, but the body still remembers, and so I hope do you. If these words have warmed something in you tonight, if they have stirred a memory or eased a worry or reminded you of a kitchen, a porch, a face you loved, then stay with me a while longer. Subscribe and sit with me again, and let us keep remembering together gently in the evenings to come. This is Methuselah Wisdom, where old memories still teach new lessons, and growing older is met with understanding, dignity, and grace.